GameChangers, the series where we have a look at the mechanics or design choices that have gone on to change the gaming landscape, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse.
Loot boxes.
The series will look at whether or not these changes have been positive or negative, as well as the impact they have had on how we play games today. Before we continue with the episode, be sure to click the button top right if you happen to miss episode 1. A number of new genres and subgenres have been created over the last decade. As gaming appetites have changed, so too have the types of gaming experiences on offer. From battle royales to auto-battler titles, the gaming landscape has consistently evolved and new genres are constantly spawning. It's rare that a developer creates an experience so fresh and unique that it spawns its own subgenre. One developer, however, that has achieved this feat is FromSoftware. Created by Hidetaka Miyazaki, one of the most popular new subgenres has been the SoulsLikes. The genre owes its name to FromSoftware Classics title Demon's Souls, but it was not popularized until the release of Dark Souls, another one of Miyazaki's titles. SoulsLikes are known for their difficult but fair gameplay, which requires patience, cunning, attentiveness, and most importantly skill. SoulsLikes are games that have high difficulty, high risk combat with hard hitting enemies and sparse checkpoints. Enemies will usually drop some form of currency used for upgrading stats and or weapons. Upon death, this currency is dropped within the world. The genre is primarily inspired by classic Japanese video games, combining elements from the action RPG, Metroidvania, survival horror, hack and slash and fighting game genres. The game excels at empowering players, making them initially feel helpless, before making them realize that the seemingly impossible encounter can be overcome, rewarding players with an unrivaled sense of euphoria and accomplishment. The themes and lore present in these games is often expressed through their gameplay. Instead of the normal delivery of a story, you must often find it out for yourself via dialogue with the NPCs in the game, or reading the lore associated with specific items or weapons. FromSoft have released a number of different Souls-like titles and have managed to keep the genre fresh with each new IP. A number of other developers have also released their own Souls-like titles, but none have come close to the level of polish and expertise FromSoftware continue to deliver. The Souls-like genre has begun to leak over into 2D games, but we will be focusing solely on the third-person Souls-likes in this video, starting with the game that started it all, Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls was originally released solely in Japan and had a troubled development due to a lack of coherent vision. Miyazaki eventually took over the project and helped turn the title into what it became. The game's difficulty was intended to both evoke classic video games and provide a sense of challenge and accomplishment for players, a design philosophy that has been dwindling due to the increased accessibility of video games. Although initially met with merely moderate reception and sales in Japan, it became a commercial and critical success in the West. Dark Souls.
Dark Souls, yay!
Dark Souls was a title which popularized and solidified the Souls-like genre's place in gaming history, becoming an instant classic with a cult-like following. The game is a spiritual successor to Demon's Souls, and today it is lauded as one of the best video games of all time. Critics praise the depth of its combat and character builds, intricate and ingenious level design, and a difficult but fair gameplay. Some people, however, have criticized this difficulty, stating the game is too unforgiving and does not do well to inform players of its more nuanced mechanics. FromSoft are masters of using gameplay and game design to guide the player instead of the use of tutorial sections or hand-holding, for lack of a better word. Players must explore the open world looking for bonfires, essentially checkpoints. Checkpoints work as respawn points, but whenever they are used, all of the non-boss enemies in the world respawn. Like Demon's Souls, another aspect of Dark Souls is its multiplayer. Players can work together to overcome challenges together, or against each other in player versus player battles. Due to the popularity of Dark Souls and its newly spawned genre, Deck 13 developed the first carbon copy Souls-like game, called Lords of the Fallen. Deck 13 remixed the formula slightly, rewarding players for not activating checkpoints and for mixing up combo attacks. The game's setting, although different, is thematically similar to FromSoft's previous games. Although not received as well as Dark Souls, the game did okay commercially and a sequel was initially planned, but the developers have since gone on to develop another Souls-like title. FromSoft then released Bloodborne, back to the masters, considered by many to be Miyazaki's magnum opus. Bloodborne adopted a Lovecraftian horror aesthetic. It takes place in Yharnam, a decrepit gothic city overrun by monsters and otherworldly entities. Bloodborne differed from previous Souls-like titles by offering faster and more frantic combat. A new mechanic was the ability to steal back recently lost health by striking enemies, resulting in a more brawl-like combat. This resulted in further enhancing the pace of battles, especially in tighter situations. This, as well as the removal of shields from the game, forced players to abandon the tried and tested Souls-like strategies and to focus on position, mobility, and counter-attacking. Another entry to the Souls-like genre was Team Ninja's Nioh. It had a number of Souls-like staples such as extreme difficulty, stamina, and a penalty for dying, but also added stances to its combat system. Each stance would have a different effect. The higher stance causing higher damage to opponents but lowering your own defense. The middle stance balances attack and defense, and the low stance allowed for quicker attacks and a better defense. Nioh also focused a lot more on narrative, with even the main character being fully voice acted. The Surge was Deck 13 Interactive's second Souls-like game. It traded the medieval gothic setting for a futuristic sci-fi one, which they also incorporated into its gameplay. Players use an exoskeleton to battle enemies, which can be customized throughout the game using modular upgrades. The combat allows players to target different body parts of enemies, which they could then dismember in order to obtain materials and pieces of exoskeleton. These pieces would then be used to change or upgrade your own. Another noteworthy title would be Ashen, a game developed by A44 with a muted cel-shaded graphical style. Unlike other Souls-likes, character growth is primarily dominated by equipment rather than players' stats. The game has a very minimalistic feel, offering open world exploration and action combat. FromSoft continually released new Souls-like IPs that, although similar in some regards, all managed to feel unique and offer brand new experiences. Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice is their latest title, and it manages to feel similar but yet very different at the same time, implementing a number of new gameplay mechanics but keeping the fundamental Souls-like principles in place. Set in a reimagined late 16th century Sengoku period Japan, Sekiro added a level of mobility and verticality to the formula and was FromSoft's first single-player only Souls-like title. The player could only wield a katana and no additional weapons, other than those linked to the game's narrative, could be obtained. Instead, the player progression is done by improving the protagonist's skills and upgrading their tools, such as shuriken. Stealth was also prevalent, which was another first for the genre, as well as a new posture system, which allowed players to focus on playing defensively in order to knock enemies off balance, then allowing them an opening for a killing blow. Gunfire Games arguably developed the first third-person Souls-like shooter called Remnant from the Ashes. The game implements first-person shooting combats into its core gameplay, allowing players to equip machine guns, shotguns, sniper rifles and the like. Unlike other Souls-like titles, the game allows up to 3 players to progress through the entire story together. Previous Souls-like allowed cooperative play, but the games would not allow players to play through the entire game together. The majority of games today are designed for as wide an audience as possible. It is a business after all. FromSoft has realized that there are still gamers out there who appreciate and love difficult games, even within titles where harder difficulties are allowed to be chosen. Said choice often simply boosts enemies' health while reducing the players. By opting to make the games difficult by default, FromSoft can design them in a way where the difficulty comes first. Every aspect of the game, from its enemies to its world, can benefit from this philosophy, and makes the developers consider the experience the player will have. We here at Zoned love the Souls-likes, yet we feel that they are still in their infancy. This unique category of challenging and unforgiving games that are for the hardcore players. FromSoft they've struck gold, and we can't wait to see what else FromSoft and other developers are going to end up doing with the genre. Thanks for watching, guys and girls. I've been a Megabyte. This has been Zoned Live. For more similar content, as in media news, reviews, previews, interviews, and discussions, don't forget to head on to zoned.live. Peace. Peace.